Welcome everyone to AJ Media's District 3 City Council debate. I am Adam Young. This is part of a series of debates AJ Media is hosting to inform our audience ahead of the May 10 election. We're here with challengers Deanne Clark, Jeff Griffith, and Maurice Stanley. We'll start with a 1-minute opening statement from each candidate, followed by 3 one-minute questions. Ms. Clark, will you please begin?
My name is Deanne Clark, and I'm an ordinary citizen, an ordinary taxpayer. And because I had attended about a year's worth of city council meetings, spoken there, was not pleased with the response that I got from the city council, I decided it might be time to try to get out a message. And so I decided to run for this particular position. After studying the city issues in depth, I was concerned that costly decisions were being made without very much input from the public. The thing that really turned my head was when the city council borrowed $100 million several weeks ago and diverted another million in future mineral revenues to the NELCDC from the general revenue. And not that I'm against that particularly, but I wanted to see that go to the people who live in Northeast Lubbock who want streets and lights and parks.
Thank you, Mrs. Clark. And Mr. Griffith?
My name is Jeff Griffith. I'm a lifelong citizen of Lubbock. I have a small business here, Radio Lab. We've been in business 67 years. I am a very, very concerned citizen about what's going on at City Hall. I think we have a great city. I'm ready to serve our city. I've got an excellent business background. I've served on boards that literally have made billion-dollar decisions nationally. And I feel like my business expertise gives me the ability to look at budgets properly and study budgets. And obviously our city budget needs a lot of help, and we need to make sure we go forward with our great city.
And Mr. Stanley?
Yes, my name is Maurice Stanley. I graduated from Texas Tech in 1970. I've served in the United States Army. Became interested in city affairs in 2009. I was appointed to the 2009 Bond Committee. I served on the 2009 Bond Oversight Committee. I served on the 2010 Redistricting Committee. I serve on the Community Services Development Board, the Urban Renewal Board, and I am currently serving on the 2014 Bond Committee. I coached Little League and Pony League baseball around here for 9 years, and I have a barbershop on University Avenue in District 3.
And our first question will go to Ms. Clark. What should the City Council's role be in Lubbock Power and Light?
Well, if I understand it correctly, by the charter, they are, the City Council is to more or less administrate what goes on at LP&L. They will have something to do with their budget, have input on members of the committee for LP&L, and certainly listen to the public and govern that body in a effective business-like way.
And Mr. Griffith?
The charter for our city is designed that the City Council is an oversight board of Lubbock Power and Light. And its main responsibility is budgetary and needs to oversee the budget with what we've got going forward with LP&L, with future power generation. This is a very important time for our city. And I think that looking at the budget, it should be fine-tuned and make sure that we're on the right track for generations to come. with our new power generation system. We really need to look at all options.
And Mr. Stanley.
As I understand the charter, the City Council's role for our LP&L, that they would appoint the members of the Electrical Utility Board, and they would be responsible for approving the budget. And of course, in an advisory type role with the EUB, with the EUB making the management decisions.
And our second question goes first to Mr. Griffith. How would you address the city's $1 billion+ debt?
Almost $400 million of our debt is water related. With acquisition, Roberts County wells, Bailey County wells, pipeline to Lake Allen Henry, and obviously Lake Allen Henry. So that is a issue that we couldn't bypass. We had to do that, and that's something we should admit to ourselves and our citizens. The rest of our debt is very, very debatable in that we have actually borrowed money for street repair, and that's a bad thing in my opinion. There are solutions to help pay our debt down going forward, and I think we really should look at all options.
And Mr. Stanley?
Yes, Adam. 135 million of the debt is, we call it being the general revenue debt. That's the debt part that would be of most concern. The other debt is funded through revenue bonds. Money is coming in to pay that debt. And my principal problem there is that we are debt funding our street maintenance and maintenance items of the city. And I would think that we need to move into a take care of what we have fund, and that we would do that by any revenues that come in new. We would take a portion of those, put it in that fund to help with the budget of our maintenance budget as it exists now. We would use that to help offset some of the expense that we have.
And Ms. Clark?
I would like for this to be a theme, and that is that debt, this huge debt of $1.2 billion, of which we are 5th in the state, be addressed first and foremost. Because with this kind of debt, we're vulnerable. We're subject to problems that we can't even see today. And of course, we've already talked about water and electricity, and those are huge amounts. There are ways to whittle the debt if that's one of our focuses, and they are all the way from saving a penny on each dollar to finding areas in which the budget could be cut. And of course, we will have growth, natural growth, that will bring us more revenue and also a few more expenses. So if that's the focus, I believe this council can reduce the debt.
And question 3 goes first to Mr. Stanley. What are the top 2 issues facing the city, and how would you address them?
Water would be the #1 issue, and I would say taking care of the infrastructure that we have is #2. And the water, clearly that's going to have to be involved with conservation measures. We need to get into recycling, and of course we need to continue looking into looking for new resources. The Santa Rosa is an option. Of course, that would include bringing in desalination if we go that route. As far as the #2 issue, taking care of what we have, if we let the city hollow out and we don't take care of what we have, we will wind up with more 34th Streets and more go-to-key libraries. Those are situations that I don't want to find ourselves in again. We could have avoided those. It was going to take time to get into 34th Street. We should have done that years ago.
And Ms. Clark?
I agree with Maurice in that water is certainly a vital issue and one we can't do much about. Even though 1/3 of the debt goes for that, we're going to still be paying for things long after we're not using them. And so I think water is certainly number one. Number two, I love the infrastructure business. We will save money by taking care of what we have. Third, by whittling the debt, we are relieved of some of those expenses and can have them to apply to some things. It's time for Lubbock to go on a diet.
And Mr. Griffith.
Adam, the first is water, and that's one thing that we've got to make sure and not just conserve, but we need to make sure that we come with programs to reward and rebate lower water usage. We don't have a extra supply of water. We need to be more disciplined in our water usage. I think that's very important as we go forward. And I think that water is something we're going to never have enough of. So that's number one concern. Number two is LP&L, because there's a $700 million question in front of us as far as power generation and how to go forward with future power for our citizens as this city grows, because it will continue to grow.
And now please take about a minute for closing remarks, starting with Mr. Stanley, but please emphasize with three candidates in this race, and you all had very similar answers in terms of what some of the more important issues were for the city, but what would make you the more effective candidate?
Adam, I think when we talk about the city of Lubbock, we're all interested in economic development. And economic development is much more than building a street and putting a Walmart on it. It gets into the workforce and the capable workforce. It gets into the utilities being reliable. And do we have stable rates? It gets into quality of life issues. Do we have the parks? Do we have the community centers? Do we have the pools? Do we have the golf courses? Do we have the libraries? And I think that's one area that we need to focus on. We need to maintain these facilities that we have. I came from a small town, and as we know, small towns are going away. There's nothing there. People live in places because they have things that they like to do. And we need to be there to have those options available for people. It also includes having a well-developed transportation network. But the bottom line is we have to take care and have a well-maintained infrastructure.
Mr. Griffith.
I think that budget expertise is very, very important. I've looked at literally, again, billion-dollar initiatives and voted on billion-dollar items that affected stores, businesses all over the United States. And I'm not scared of big budgets at all. I think that we can be very, very accurate with budgetary process. I think it needs to be combed accurately and looked at all the time. And that is a key component of being a good city council person, is being able to look at budgets. And my business expertise, I really am very, very confident that I can do a great job for our city. We have a fantastic city, and it's going to, again, it's going to keep growing. So we can do the work and make our city even better.
And Ms. Clark.
I think that there are four main issues that set me apart. One is I don't have a tree that grows money, and I don't think very many people do. And so it's time we have a wake-up call. The message is to prioritize the spending on the essential citywide services and maintenance, stop funding special interest groups, stop increasing and phase out hidden taxes on the utility bills, and stop adding debt without public input. And I think when we do that, that we will have some positive results.
Thank you all very much for being here with us today. Early voting begins April 28th for the May 10 municipal election. And remember, as you prepare for voting, you can learn more about the election at LubbockOnline.com and in the Lubbock Avalanche-Journal. Thank you for taking the time to watch our debate. I am Adam Young, and this is LubbockOnline.com.